Great. Okay, everyone, welcome to Candidate Training 101. We want to be very respectful of all of your time. So as people are progressing into the Zoom here, we want to welcome you all. We're going to do a real quick short introduction. My name is Gina Papan. I'm on the Millbrae City Council and I am your host today. We have three wonderful panelists. First and foremost, Alicia Aguirre from Redwood City Council. I believe she's in her fourth term, and as a short note, professor at Kenyatta College. Now, mind you, the resumes are huge here, so I'm just giving you the basics. Then we have Vicki Kenter. Did I say it right? Kenter?
Veenker rhymes with thinker.
Veenker. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Vicki is on the Palo Alto City Council. A lawyer for many years, doing mediation now prior to litigation. And an interesting thought I just found out, a founder of women's soccer.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. And then our third panelist, Senator Josh Becker, will be joining us very shortly. Somehow his calendar got a little messed up, but he is going to be here. Well, I want to let you know, this is a very exciting panel. We want you to get relevant information to give you an understanding about being a candidate and all the kind of nuances we can give you in 1 hour. If you don't have time to get your questions in at the end, please just submit them in writing. We will get them responded to. And we know how wonderful and amazing all of you are, but we are going to focus on questions and not speeches at the end. So if you would, so we can get as many in as possible. Gonna lead off and just pass the baton to Alicia. Thank you.
Good morning. Welcome, everyone. This is exciting. I was thinking about my first campaign and how I was on the school board. I'm on this Redwood City Council, former mayor, first Latina mayor in the history of Redwood City. And I started my political career as a school board member for the Redwood City School Board, 5 years there. And I'm actually finishing this year 19 years on the city council. And that is due to a 2-year appointment that didn't count against me, and another year when we went from odd to even years for elections. So I'll be finishing in December with 19 years on the city council and 5 on the school board. So it's been an honor to serve, and I'm excited for people that are willing to learn about how we did it and where we went wrong and what are some things that can help us. And I'm going to share my screen because I'm going to give you some information that I think will help you, because this is Campaign 101. Can everyone see my screen? Yes. Okay. So yes. I'm not going to read everything, but the major components are, first of all, get your name out right away so that you limit the field of candidates. You know, sometimes when people say they're going to run and they don't actually file, you know, a lot of people come in, and sometimes when you begin right from the start and you say, this is what I'm going to do, it kind of limits the field. The budget is very important. Endorsements, finding a good person, either a coordinator or a consultant or a good friend that knows a lot about politics, and definitely a good treasurer. And someone that can do data entry, volunteer recruitment, precinct walking, phone banking, lawn signs, coffees in the neighborhood, social networking, and two specific direct mail campaigns, and get out the vote. And if it's going to be by mail. So I will share these with you because I think it's a good timeline. And then your candidate filing, you know, no nomination, your paper filing periods when they're due, make an appointment early with the clerk or wherever you're going to file, know the details of the contribution limits ahead of time and the spending caps. And of course, your campaign statement, make sure you edit it carefully, find an English teacher like myself or someone that can help you put it together so that it limits 200 words. And remember, your ballot designation is very important. It really connects you to the community. If you say parent, teacher, attorney, you know, whatever it is, make sure it's something that's honest, that's real, that's on your resume. Fundraising, you know, I'm talking about general fundraising. Normally, I'm talking about districts and cities. It might be less for school boards. It might be higher for other areas. And think about a target right now. I think it's 30 to 40,000 for district elections. It might be a little more depending on your city or a little bit less. And then think about who can give you 40 checks at $500 and you got it made, 40 checks at $250. Your goal is, as you're doing, and I was always told dialing for dollars is to raise $500 a day, and think about doing that at the beginning. And that's another way also to limit the candidate pool. What kinds of events do you want to have? How much are you going to do online? And who are going to be your fundraising captains? And of course, very important, your FFPC reporting. And I'm going kind of quick, and I know you might have questions, that I just want to give you all the information. Endorsements, here's a list of where you should start: elected officials, former elected officials. You can go to folks that were elected in the past, but that still are important, that people would say, oh, this person knows so-and-so or has been endorsed, and that's an important connector. PTA, associations, PACs, labor, of course, your Dems, neighborhood leaders, business leaders, community leaders, residents. Who are the important people in the community? Sometimes in my community, it's really the seniors that have a lot of name recognition and that bring in some of those votes, because those are the ones that are active still and are, that people can connect with, and those are the voters. And of course, a lot of candidate questionnaires that you're going to get from all of these different groups. What are some things you can do that with direct mail? Make sure you have your bio, some of the issues, who you're targeting. Your community better. What are the diverse groups that you want to target, and what are the issues? And you should be able to answer on day one, why are you running? What are your issues? Make sure you have some nice headshots, nothing from TikTok or nothing that you would be embarrassed to show later. Very important today. In fact, I had someone a couple of campaigns ago who said that all her networking was on Facebook, which is now Meta. So different, ways. Definitely people are looking at social networking, e-blast, YouTube videos. I remember walking around and just doing little mini YouTube videos around the neighborhoods that I represented or the areas that are important, and just put them on my Meta. And of course, there are others that depending on what you feel comfortable with, but you definitely need to I found someone young and smart that knows social media very well, and because I couldn't do all of those things. And then the other side of media, which is the San Mateo County Daily Journal, Daily Post, letters to the editor, policy ideas. Some people like to do press releases. And what events do you need to go to in the area where your constituents are, where you're visible, where they see you? And then preparing for the editorial endorsements, because the Daily Journal and others will endorse you. And then getting out the vote. It will be, is it mail format that you're going to do? Are you going to, what are the things that you're going to do? And then remember, election day is 29 days long. You got to chase the absentee ballots from the beginning. Phone banking. There's a lot of text banking that I didn't add here, but there's a lot of text banking that you send out. You do text blasts. And again, people that are savvy with social media can do that. Make sure you target the absentee ballots first. Door hangers. And when you go to, when you have your volunteers going door to door, know the policies and the restrictions. People can't put things in mailboxes. Door hangers work, and consider poll checking on election day. And so what do you need to do right away? Limit the field, raise your funds, how to raise $30,000. Who are you going to be your campaign coordinators? What about your website? Make sure that depending on your community, my website is bilingual. You click on it and it goes to Spanish because of the community that I serve. And are the databases compiled? Are they updated? What about your time management? Because whoever you have coordinating will tell you need to spend an hour or two a day on dialing for dollars. And where are you going to do this? Is it going to be in your office, in your garage? And then one final thing that I'm going to share that I will also give to you is, you just get it. It's in a format that I think might be easier for you to actually take and just do the checkoff list. So here's a timeline that I'm sharing. We are now in April. What are we supposed to do in those times? It kind of summarizes the PowerPoint that I gave you and some of the things that you have so you can check off. So this is one of the things that I used. I think it's very handy. And I won't read it, but I will let you know that I can share both of those with you. So I am done. A
That
lot
is
of information.
yes, like in 5 minutes. Y'all got that? Don't anybody freak out, okay? Just relax. That is really in a nutshell for you all. You're gonna get a copy of it. Breathe. These are guidelines. Every campaign is different. And do not be discouraged. I know people hear $30,000. Campaigns have been won on less. They've been lost on more. So please, Vicki, you're on. Got to unmute. There you go.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Gina and Alicia. Wow, what a gift to everybody to have all of that. Plus one. I feel like I can just stop. But what I'll try to do, let me just introduce myself and then maybe zoom out a little bit on becoming a candidate and running for office. But first, I want to thank the San Mateo County Dems and the Santa Clara County Dems and Bill James for this invitation. I'm delighted to be here today with Gina and Alicia and soon, hopefully, Josh. Amazing people who have done amazing things in public service. And it's really just terrific that you've put this together for candidates. So my name is Vicki Veenker, and I am a council member for the city of Palo Alto. And I also want to thank each of you for considering running and for being here today, because it matters. You matter. Representation matters. Giving voters good choices for serious, earnest, and passionate candidates matters. So thank you for taking the time to be here, to consider running, and hopefully running. Just a little more introduction. I was elected to the city council in Palo Alto in 2022, relative newcomer compared to people like Alicia. But in Palo Alto, I do chair the city's climate committee and sit on various others, finance and policy and all of that. I also wanted to mention that when you get elected to one thing, it often opens the doors to other things. So for example, I also sit on the Air District Board. Some of you know it as BACMD, one of the longest and not the greatest acronyms ever, the Bay Area Air Quality Management District. That is a significant joy. It serves all 9 counties around the Bay. And I got that because I'm on a city council. So just bear in mind, their doors will open for you when you get into this world. I also serve on the Santa Clara County Recycling and Waste Reduction Commission, another appointment that came from the city council position. And I'm a commissioner on the Northern California Power Agency. So what's nice is I can put the pieces together at the different levels to try to best serve our constituents. I'll also mention that I also ran for the state assembly in 2016. I was the only woman in a field of 8, and I won a spot in the general election, finishing top 2, and then lost a close race to my friend Mark Berman, who holds the seat today. And I will tell you, I learned so much from that race that you come out a winner either way. It is a rare experience to be a candidate for a public office, and I'll come back to that a little more later. Professionally, as Gina mentioned, I am an attorney, and there's lots of different backgrounds that will serve you well in public office. I think that having a variety of backgrounds around any legislative body's table is really helpful. For me, I wanted to use my undergraduate degree in biochemistry, and so I explored becoming an environmental lawyer, but I kept getting offers from people on the wrong side of the environmental street, so to speak. So I became a patent attorney like Bill James. I've spent 25 years in big law in a couple of different New York-based firms, and then I had that significant, what I call career digression that Gina mentioned when I co-founded Women's Professional Soccer and served as its general counsel. And I mention all of that because I draw off of all of those in public service. So whatever your background is, think of how it connects to the voters you would serve, because there are likely ways all of those unique experiences inform my work every day, and your unique experiences would inform yours. For example, I also spent 20 years on the board of the Law Foundation of Silicon Valley. It's the area's largest provider of free legal services to the underserved, provides access to justice for foster youth, those dealing with mental health related issues, those experiencing housing discrimination. All of that feeds in. So think about the different public service, community service, as well as your professional service, and how that might be put toward the public good. So for me, all of that fed a passion to serve, to right wrongs, and to improve the system so that there weren't so many wrongs to right. And that's why I wanted to get into public service. This is a footnote, as Gina also mentioned. I've also been appointed by the United States International Trade Commission as it's on its mediation panel in the federal courts. So in one hat, I advocate and litigate, in the other, I try to figure out how to bring people together as a professional mediator. And again, all of that informs my public service.
What perfect timing.
Okay, is Josh here?
Josh just arrived.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
I'll defer to him, and I'll pick up on the nuts and bolts later.
Vicki, that was great. Josh, you've missed a lot of great stuff here. Senator Becker.
I probably would have learned something for sure.
Oh my gosh, it's been amazing. I know your time is limited, so we've everybody's been giving Alicia set out all the basics for running for office. One thing I will throw in is a professional treasurer is always important. Don't want to mess up with the FPPC. And Vicki really put together the pieces here on connecting with your public. You all have really amazing backgrounds, but if you're not connecting with the public, it doesn't matter. So that's it. And welcome, Senator Becker. You're on.
All right.
Candidate 101 training.
All right. Thank you, Gina. I have so many thoughts, and apologize. We had accepted this, but it never ended on my calendar. And I'm sitting outside of the Los Altos, state of the city, whatever. I got to run into at some point. But, I'll share a few thoughts and hopefully can be available going forward as well. It's just great seeing so many folks here who are thinking about running. I see some people I've known for a long time, and other people I have not met. And let's see, what would I say? I'd say, a couple things. I'd say one is just that, what was this? It's like the journey is the destination or whatever, right? So it's like, when you think about running, because I was with someone today who asked me, I ran and lost the first time, how was that experience? And, let me get off this. Okay. And I said it was a really positive experience because, you quickly find out, is it something you want to do? And do you enjoy that experience? Do you enjoy interacting with the public in a formal way? Do you enjoy, debates and the things like that if you have it? Do you enjoy the farmers markets? Do you enjoy the door-to-door? Do you enjoy meeting with community groups? Is that all things that you enjoy? Because if you do, there's just benefit from that, right? You meet people, win or lose, you meet lots of people, you learn a lot more about your community, and you build relationships that can be ongoing if you never run again, or can obviously be helpful if you do run again. And so for me, running and losing was a very positive experience. I mean, no one likes to lose, but at the end of the day, you kind of look at it like, okay, I knew there's a chance I'd win. I knew there's a chance I'd lose. And but I've met people of like lifelong friends now that I never would have met if I had not done that. So I think just that attitude, I think, is important. Just people recognize it's not just, winning or losing. It's like, okay, do I enjoy the experience? And, and again, there's advantages to that. Someone told me a story about, their friend who would always run. I think this is like a Republican in LA. Like he's like a real estate guy. Why do you run? You lose every time. It's like, yeah, my business doubles every time I run. My business doubles. So like, why not? So anyway, the other piece is that there's lots of ways to sort of burnish your credentials. And I don't, again, I don't want to repeat stuff that's already been covered, but if you haven't held office before, getting on a commission, a board, any of that is helpful because you learn about a specific issue area, you meet people, in that area or around that area, and it can give you a nice credential. In my case, I wasn't elected before I had this role, which is unusual. But I had served on the state workforce board for 7 years. I had served on the San Mateo County Child Care Partnerships Council, and I was able to talk about those experiences. And some people said, "Hey, that's a great experience." Some people say, "Well, I still wish you had been elected." Well, okay, people, but at least you have things that you can point to, and you can say, "Hey, I did this. I participated in it. Here's what I accomplished." And so, if anyone's thinking about running, those are great ways. I was talking to this woman this morning, and she's like, "Well, maybe I might join the planning commission." I was like, "Well, I mean, that's pretty intense. I don't know, there's different levels of commissions and boards, but it's great work. But it doesn't, you don't have to join, there's also lots of other commissions and boards, which are probably less time consuming, but that is certainly that's the Lord's work, as we say, on the planning commissions. So yeah, I think about that. And then like anything else, whether you're starting a business or whatever, it's like that network of networks, right? You start out with what are the areas, people who went to my high school, people who went to my college, right? Like, okay, that's sort of an affinity group, is people who care about, clean energy or whatever, the same issues I care about, or people who care about homelessness. And okay, well, that's an affinity group. So you think about, affinity groups and networks of, people who are first-time candidates, great. Or for people who are, city council people who are now running for XYZ, like, whatever it is, even if it's a small cohort, that's powerful. If you can pull together people where you're not just benefiting yourself, but you're helping them too, right? You're forming a community, you're bringing people together, and ultimately you're the center of it because you created it, but it's something that helps everyone. Again, it's a great way to get to recruit allies. So those are a few specific things we could talk about. Fundraising, it's not rocket science. It's but it's not easy either, right? It's like, is it going to be small house parties? Well, that's probably what most people do, right? It's like, okay, then what's going to get people to open their checkbook? They have to believe in you, but also have to believe that this is a role that you could have an impact and that's going to help them or help their community. It's whether it's a fundraising plan for a company or for a candidate, it's like, okay, you got to have a plan and see if the plan's working, and market segmentation and all those things, and try to hold yourself accountable to goals and metrics and all of that. So those are a few thoughts.
I'm gonna, as one of the 3 lawyers here, I'm gonna put in the disclaimer. No strings attached. Contributions are just that, contributions. Please never, it's not tit for tat. You give me this, I'll give you that. They have to believe in you as a candidate, and that's it. And I think the best line is that you're available to everyone and you are representing everyone. So just a little disclaimer in case anybody
Yes, very important. When I say help them, I mean like help their community, help their school, help their whatever, the region, But yes, thank you. Yeah, that's very important. That is very important.
And I'm gonna say one thing about Senator Becker. Watching him on the campaign trail, he was everywhere and he was engaging people. You can be a candidate, you can go everywhere and talk at people, but you really need to listen and engage them. And Josh, to his credit, was always following up. So nice to meet you today. Look forward to, I don't know how he did it, and I wish I could be better at that, but it really made a difference to a lot of people, because the Senate district is huge. How many people do you represent, sir?
1 million people.
1 million people.
But showing up, I know we don't quote Woody Allen much anymore, but you say 90% of life is just showing up. That's very true for politics. Showing up And I will give my just quick credit back to Gina, you and Diane. You could rest it on the Papan name, but no, I mean, you guys are everywhere. Gina actually has a listening booth, kind of a la modeled after the Peanuts cartoon, where she literally set up a listening booth. They're like, I am listening. Here's my listening booth. Come listen, So it's great.
And I think everyone here will admit, you learn from the people. We don't know everything.
Yeah.
And you learn what matters to them, which is usually what matters to you too. But hearing it from them is so very important.
Yeah.
Yes. So we've got, let's see here. And one other thing I think that was pointed out by everyone here is no one does this alone. You need a team. You need cheerleaders. You need people who are going to be there, knock on doors with you and communicate and support you. Alicia said, getting a tech person for all the social media. It's very important to be communicating in different ways and really having people to support you.
Yeah, I'd say that, and I'll mention that quickly now. There's, even for me, someone said come out of technology, and that was still a really hard area for me because you just don't have time. Like, okay, do the website or this social media account. Am I going to do LinkedIn or Instagram or this or that? Or but think about, there are new technologies coming out all the time. It has voter.vote. That's a new technology. Like, okay, how can I actually make sure there are people's valid email addresses? Because, the voter file is not always accurate, right? So there's new technologies, kind of coming out all the time. For me, I don't know if he does it anymore, but there's a guy who at Redwood City, he was doing these surveys for Redwood, hey, okay, do you want money to go to parks, this or that? And we said, hey, let's use it for politics. I mean, we couldn't use any of his data. We used the voter file. But hey, we're going to, text 500 people, ask if they want to participate. And 100 people did and whatever. And it's like, I had a deep relationship with 100 people that I wouldn't have had a relationship with before. Right. So it's kind of like, there is a lot of new ways, but yeah, getting people to help you on that is terrific.
Yeah. And I'll point out too, one way of campaigning is literally sending out a questionnaire to people saying, what matters to you?
Yeah.
I had a door hanger once. Let me know, respond or mail this back. Very few come back, but at least people know you want to know what they think.
Yeah. I used to write myself, on door hangers, to the door. I'd write my cell phone on the door hanger. Like, here's my cell phone. Call, and not like one or two people actually called me, but hopefully people appreciate it. Like, okay. Yeah.
So Vicki, what's your best door knocking story?
Oh, wow. Well, I think when you end up realizing that you've connected with someone in a prior life, right? And so there you are, just to say, here's why I care about you. Here's what I want to do for this district. And they're like, wasn't your daughter on my daughter's soccer team? So those are interesting. But no, I think one of the things, I resonate with so much of what you all just said, but one of the things about campaigning is you learn so much about yourself, right? So when you're on the doors, people ask you questions that force you to really crystallize your answer. And then, and you do, and they ask you unexpected things, right? But for me, I try to be really candid. If I don't know something, it's okay to say, I don't know. It's better to say, I don't know, but I'll get back to you, like Josh with the cell phone. Here's my cell phone number. I'll call you, or what's your email? So those things really turn around, and then you listen to I love the listening booth, because to me, I learned so much about my community in both of my races. You just never look at your community the same way again, right? I'm walking or driving with my husband. I'll say, oh, look at that. That came about when blah, 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 or so-and-so asked me about that. Or we need to take a walk today. Let's walk the site we're going to vote on Monday night. So I think that interaction, that drive to hear, to listen, to understand your community, that breeds an authenticity that resonates with people, and they can tell if you're in it for the office or you're in it to serve, and just connect with them in ways that make sure they know you're in it to serve.
Excellent. Alicia, you got a story from campaign history?
For knocking on doors or just in general?
Anything in general?
You know, I think it's, and when you're running, you put yourself out and you have to remember that you're doing it for the right reasons and why you're doing it. And probably the best advice I'd give anybody that's running is remember it's not about you. It's about the people you're serving. And when you can remember that, I think the negative things that might hit you, because they are going to be there. I didn't put those on the PowerPoint, but they are going to be there, either by candidates or by special interest group. And remember that you're doing it for the right reasons. But one of the best things when I was campaigning is that I knocked on somebody's door, and the first thing that he said to me was, "Professor, you're here at my house." And it was so awesome because I live in the community that I serve, and I also live in the community of Kenyatta College where I teach. And so it's a beautiful circle for me to serve my students and empower them and move them forward, and then see them in the community and their small businesses and how they're working. So to me, that's why I love what I do, because it is this beautiful circle.
That's great. Okay, I think we're about losing our senator here. Josh, parting words or?
No, this is fascinating. Yeah, I wish it is fun to talk about. Yeah, no, I think I covered some of the basics. Yeah, I would just kind of keep in mind the journey is the destination, right? Like when people say, it's really the knocking on doors and farmers markets and all that is really interesting. Again, you get a quick, very accurate, I don't know if accurate, but you get a very good sense of what people care about, right? And if things come up multiple times, you know that's something that is is very much on people's minds. So yeah, I'll leave that. I may be able to listen in a little bit later, but feel free to reach out honestly if there's there's additional advice. But you got a great group here. This is like you got real pros and experts and people who are between Gina and Alicia have been leaders in the community for so long, and Vicki is someone who I've worked with in the private sector and the nonprofit sector and the government sector, and she's really just shows you what you can do when you're on the not just the local council, but then all the regional boards that you get on, and the work she's now doing with the Air Quality Management District. And there's so many ways to have impact on those local and regional boards. It's amazing.
Okay, well, if you can pop back in, let us know.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so just to reiterate what Alicia said, you are not going to please everyone. And from personal experience, listening is what they want to know. Even if you don't agree with them, they will say, but you know what? She talked to me and she heard me. And do not let one person's negativity or next door define you. I think Alicia and Vicki will all agree. If you're doing this for the right reasons, stay focused. Yeah. Really, please, Vicki.
Gina, just a footnote to what you were saying and Josh just said. I really believe that, going through life as a candidate is a different way to experience your community and the world, because people don't just come up and ask you about the weather or have some chit chat. They cut right to the chase of whatever matters most to them, because you might be in a position to help them with it. And that's really, in my view, a privileged way to go through life, because you connect much more deeply, much more quickly with people, and you do find out what matters most. And that, what Josh was saying about win or lose, you take that with you. And it's really, it is different. You kind of skip past the niceties and you get to it, and that's what really breeds the learning. So I just wanted to put that footnote to your comment.
Yeah, and Josh pointed out something. Don't make it personal. I've won, I've lost, but it has been a great experience. And the people you meet along the way, they're amazing. And some of the funniest things are, oh, I thought you won that one. It's like, even when you lose, people think, oh yeah, I thought you won. So yeah, just really, you're doing it, if you're doing it for the right reasons, it makes all the difference. And you can still be a part of the community. You're a part of the community by being here.
Yeah.
So Alicia has the whole education thing, and I love that story about professors. Like, you're doing what? House calls now, professor. I'm not in trouble.
Yeah.
I will tell you, my dad was campaigning once, and the woman thought he was the Publishers Clearinghouse. She thought she won. So, I mean, you get great, great stories. My sister will tell you, people think vice versa. Aren't you like, they get us confused, but that's okay. Okay.
You know, Gina, I might also drop in there that, you know, when you're a candidate, try to keep in mind what you can and cannot control in a campaign, and pray for the wisdom to know the difference, because you can't control who else runs. You can't control all the events that are going to happen in the background. I mean, when we had wildfires, a pandemic, no one saw coming. Now we have the war in Gaza. All of that stuff is a backdrop that affects your race because it affects your community. And you can't see that coming necessarily, and you can't control it. So don't fret about what you can't control and really focus on what you can. What's your reaction? What's your team? How are you doing with that amazing list that Alicia put out there? And do your best on that. And I think that helps kind of manage the moment. You're on mute.
No, that's beautiful, and that's perfect, because it's happening to us each and every day. And so it's so important here. And I just thought of one thing I have to throw in here too. Labor, if you're printing anything, there's a little thing called a labor bug. Okay. If you want to stay friends with your labor friends, best to use union shops. So you can put that bug on there. And if you can't, you just put at the bottom, prepared on home computer, and your relevant information. I'm trying to keep everybody out of trouble here. So here we go. So Alicia, what do you think was the most challenging part of your 19 plus years of being a candidate?
You know, it's really being able to solve the issues that are not issues for the city to solve sometimes. And, you know, also being able to communicate. I think that is so overused and so challenging to really get the word out, because the average person doesn't know what's going on in city government, right? And so the most challenging piece is, how do you really reach out to your constituents? And there isn't an easy way. There's a different way for seniors, there's a different way for millennials, there's a different way for the Gen Zs and others. And you might get information. I never knew that we were going to vote on that in Redwood City, you know. And so getting the word out, I think, has been the challenge for, you know, many cities, or just many things in general when you want to communicate. So I think that one of the most challenging pieces is, how do you communicate your message when you're running? And how do you continue to communicate that when you are all going to be elected, of course, right?
Yeah, and I'm going to reiterate that too. Everybody's busy. All these people here you see have day jobs, and multiple jobs at that. But the public is the same way. And if you can kind of just keep them informed, like if they're on your mailing list or whatever, just give them a heads up about what's happening. This is the exciting news in the city of Redwood City or Palo Alto. Just throwing them a little information easily. Don't do novels, people. Short, to the point, Reader's Digest version. They'll love it. They're like, wow, Alicia told me this, or Vicki told me that. Okay, we're ready. Let's dive in. If anybody has any questions, Bill, I can't see everyone. So if you could keep your questions, again, I know you're all special and wonderful. Let's keep them questions, not speeches, and let's dive in. So there's a raise
Gina,
hand.
I think it'd be the most helpful thing would be if they raise their hand, and then
Okay.
I'll add them to the spotlight so that they can be seen by everybody while they ask their question.
Fantastic.
While you're sorting that out, can I put a quick thing in about money?
Yes, please.
Because money is important in campaigns, and often the thing that scares people off. And that's why I want to talk about it, because it need not. It is a reality. But what I want to say is you don't have to have the most money of all the candidates. You need enough money to get your message out. So a lot of money isn't going to make a poor candidate win, but not enough money might keep a good candidate from letting people know how good they are. So you can look at what has been spent in the past by successful candidates. You can look at their FPPC filings. That's what's so wonderful. We all file these 460s. You'll see, which printer I used, how much money, how many mailings, all that great stuff. You can see it. And plus, people are pretty generous with telling you. And so figure out what you need that will help you have an effective campaign, but don't feel like, oh, Bob has $12 more than me. It may not matter. But
Okay.
anyway, so I just wanted to add that in there.
Welcome, Chris. You have a question.
Yeah, I was just curious, when you're deciding on what issues to bring up or how you're campaigning, how much do you focus purely on your own interest versus evaluating who else is running and what your competition is likely to raise?
There was kind of two questions in there.
Let me-
I think focusing on the issues and then the money aspect. Was that correct?
No. I'm just curious. When you're deciding how are you going to pitch your message, how much do you focus purely internally on yourself and your own beliefs and what you're bringing to the job, and how much do you factor in what other candidates are running and what message you expect them to bring out?
You
Alicia,
want me to take that? Yeah.
please.
Thanks for your question, Chris. You have to be number one, honest, very honest to yourself, very true. We had a candidate years ago that ran on artificial turf in the parks, and that was her 111 issue. And she lost because she didn't see the big picture of really what your goals should be. So you should think about being honest to you. What is the environment? Is it peace? What is going to be the thing that you attach to that's related to the position that you're running? If it's a city, if it's infrastructure, if it's children and youth, if it's, streets and sidewalks, stop signs, you can, but, there has to be something that connects what you're passionate to what connects your constituents. And so they say, oh, he really wants to, work on the issues that we're dealing with our teens and how we can get them into programs instead of bicycles and things like that. So you have to be true to yourself, but you have to be realistic. Oh, that's not something I'm going to solve within my position. Right. And I think that was the first thing I said when I started is like, make sure you know how to answer why you are running. I mean, it's got to be a 3-bullet elevator speech that, don't go on and get people lost. Why are you running? It's because I'm passionate about this and this.
All right, Vicki, you want to throw something in there?
Just briefly, your positions, as Alicia said, have to be yours. I think where the field comes in is how you differentiate yourself as the best person to address them. What about you makes you better to make your positions happen? So I would separate, being true to what you think, but then explaining why you'll be better at getting it done.
And Chris, I'm going to throw in a little twist there too. You're passionate about certain things. The public wants to know, are you going to listen to them when it comes to something else? So always be open-minded too. Okay, next question, please. Hi, Craig. What do you got for us?
Hi. Thanks for putting this on today. I've been at it campaigning in my area for a little while now, and I found it difficult to build my own coalition sort of organically. I find that a lot of my friends are at an age where they have families and full-time jobs and things. Were you guys able to build that, like field ops, consultants, people to run your phone banks? Did you find all your friends to do that, or did you have to hire people? And if so, do you have resources that might be available to us?
Vicki, we'll go with you first.
So it depends on the campaign, right? So when I ran a campaign for state assembly, I definitely hired people because it was, it wasn't 1 million people, but it was, half that. So for local office, I had just amazing community friends who were veterans of this. One of them's on this call, and I had an incredible team to support me, which, by the way, they're there when you're in your lowest moments. They're there when you're in your highest moments to keep you stable the whole time. But again, I would say reach into all of your networks. There are some people who surprised me from my professional networks who were really glad that I was kind of changing lanes into this. There were family members that I didn't know would be interested, stepped up. There are obviously community and political activists who resonate with your cause. But I think just think creatively. Quick funny story. We did phone banking and in 2016, and my daughter, who was in high school at the time, brought 10 of her sophomore friends over to phone bank. And I thought, oh no, kids don't talk on the phone these days. This is going to be a disaster. They were so good. They were so good. And they needed community service hours. So just think creatively about your network.
And feeding the volunteers is always helpful. Alicia, you want to throw in?
Yeah, well, my last campaign was during the COVID 2020, so it was really challenging. And I did a combination of both. For one, your friends and the friends of friends are the ones that you start with. Your community, the people that believe in you, the people that, have said, hey, the ones that encourage you to run, okay, help me, let's do this. And then bringing those on. But because of the COVID, I did hire some folks from a nonprofit that were able to do a lot of the canvassing and mostly door dropping because people didn't want you to be at their door. And so, but they were very good, and it wasn't expensive out of the, but it helped this nonprofit that, they needed to get out and do some of the work. And so I did a combination of both in my last campaign. But sometimes the folks that you least expect will come up to you and say, I want to help you. How can I do this? Once you get your name out and word of mouth gets out.
And two, Greg, I think it's all about building your database. So sometimes people will be unavailable, but if you just have to keep giving them opportunities. And I think that's helpful. Okay, thank you. Next
Thanks.
question. There we go. Swana? Hi, welcome. You're up.
Hi, I'm Trisha, and I had a question from this lovely panel. Thank you for all your insights. I'm still in the very, very early stages of thinking about office. So in your lifetimes, when did you know that now it is the time? Is there a magic pill that you can give me and say, okay, check mark these 3 boxes, you're ready to go?
Alicia? Mute, wait, you're on mute.
I had been thinking about it, but the issues are the things that drove me. It's like when I saw something in the school board that I really thought I could bring, shed some light and be a part of it to find a solution, that motivated me to really jump in. And then the second position I was appointed. So, it's like almost by fire, you're there and you're moving it. The fact that you're thinking about it means that you see something in yourself that can do this. And so others sometimes tap you on the shoulders and say, come on, Trisha, let's do it. It's time, right? And I know, especially for women, we hesitate and we think so much longer. I mean, Jackie Spear used to have these roundtables for women, and it's like, we're the ones that say, well, we'd like to run, and it's no knock, but the gentlemen usually say, I'm doing it, and that's it. And women are like, let me think about my children. Let me think about this. Let me think about that. And we are much more hesitant to jump in than others. So congratulations for beginning to go there.
Vicki?
+1. You said it, Alicia. I had known since I was a little girl, I wanted to serve. I went through a merge in 2006. When they asked us, what do you worry about most in running? And most people said fundraising or public speaking. I said finding the right office to run for, because I really wanted to match my passions with the office. 10 years later, the founder of Emerge came down, took me to coffee and said, so what are you going to run for? And that's the year I ran. So +1, Alicia.
Definitely. And sometimes it's just one person pulling you aside. After I lost a race for the assembly, my local council person said, hey, you know what? I think you'd be good on the city council. And Like if I figure I can do some good, then I will. And actually, and I will say this, I was unopposed, but I still campaigned. Because I felt I needed to connect with my community. So I was walking door to door even then. Okay, thank you for your question. Next. Wait, not Bill. I'm glad to see all these hands. Don't hesitate. There we go. Jamal, welcome.
Thank you. So the voter file says which political party people are in. Do you recommend reaching out to independents, or should we stick only with Democrats?
I think, Vicki, this one's yours first.
It depends. And what I mean is, you know, is it a partisan office? What are you reaching out for? If you're emailing, it's cheap. You can probably email everybody. If you're sending a mailer, it's expensive. You're going to want to probably target not just Democrats, but those who vote regularly. And you can also figure out who are the 4s and 5s or whatever, so it can match with your budget. So when you're walking precincts, same kind of thing. How many walkers, how big is the area you're walking? And I would start with the people who are most likely voters for you and go as far down as you have resources to go. Some people want to knock every door. Some people are more strategic. I think a strategic deployment of assets is appropriate because you want to be good stewards of the dollars and time that people give you. So sorry, but it depends. You have to use judgment on that.
Alicia?
I totally agree. I mean, when you have your I think you look at your high propensity voters. That's your guide. I don't know if you want to, you know, be that specific to say Republicans, Independents, Democrats. You know, it's your community. You're going to serve them regardless of what party they are. So and same thing, everything that Vicki said. And I'm just thinking in general, when I go with the high propensity voters.
Okay, I hope that's helpful. I think we lost Jamal there. Okay, next question, please. Thank you for your question, Jamal.
Hi there.
Thanks.
Thank you for putting on this panel.
Hi, Laura.
Hi. So I need your advice. I don't know if you're able to help me, but I live in the town of Colma and I haven't decided if I'm going to run in 2024 or 2026. This will be my 3rd time running. I don't know if many of you know, the town of Colma has less than 1,700 residents and approximately 400 people vote. So in terms of exposures, we don't have a farmer's market to go to. We have a few activities which I plan to go to, but I'm trying to figure out the best way to get exposure and should I knock on every door. In the past, I only knocked on doors of voters. Some of the people that live in Colma live in the Veterans Village and I'm not able to actually get in there.
Okay. All
So
right,
it's
I
very
think we get,
challenging.
okay. And everybody knows it's good to be alive in Colma. Their city town motto. So I'll let Alicia take this one first. You're on mute, sorry.
Should just leave it off. I think that you have a very unique situation. You obviously don't have to raise $30,000 for 400 voters. So you know your area very well, and you know your community better than any of us on this panel because you've done this before. So I think that should, you know, guide you on how you move forward with what specific things do people in Colma really like to go to, and you know, where do you meet them? And many times it's in a church, many times it's in more local community areas that, you know, are very important.
Vicki?
Agreed. If I had 400 doors, I might knock them all, but you know your community. I wonder with the veterans ways you can't go knock doors. I wonder if there are gatherings and ways you could get in and you know, speak to a group. But I agree with what Alicia's advised.
Yeah, I did actually, I'll try it again. I did try to get into the veteran village and I was basically told no.
Okay, well,
You know,
sometimes it's just like the grocery store around the corner.
Yep,
Right.
You just got to camp out it. Okay,
you know what?
thanks.
Yeah, just really
Thank you.
quick. We you know, I've stood in front of Safeway and doing
Me too.
that. Get invited to Rotary clubs, those others that where people and they say, hey, give me 10 minutes. I'd like to, tell you how I want to improve the community,
Thanks for your question, Laura. Okay,
Well,
we've
we bring
got
up the
3
next one.
minutes.
Gina, I want to mention that Evelyn Sanchez has a question in the chat. Is a good place to start a commission.
Sure, absolutely. It's a good place to start, but look, I want to tell you too, no one should say you need to do something first before you run for office. You need to be a council member, or don't let that define you. So that's it. It's helpful to be on a commission real quick because you meet more people and you get to see what's happening within your city. So as a quick note, hope we answered that one. Dave, you're on.
Yeah, thank you for putting this on. I really appreciate it. I'm just kind of curious, can you be successful doing this with a full-time job and a family, or obviously it's a big time commitment. So what are your thoughts on that? Thank you.
Where did I leave off? Vicki or Alicia? Alicia, you're on.
I'll start real quick. Yes, you can, and you just have to prioritize and make sure that, I was talking to a senator this week when I was in Sacramento and said, this weekend, I am totally going to be with my family, and I'm trying to balance that so that a lot of the events that I should go to, I will pick and choose and make sure I see all of the events that I have to go to. And, just prioritize and I make a lot of lists. I have a full-time job. I'm department head chair. I teach a couple classes plus the city council. And you can definitely do that. And sometimes that's an issue for people that think they can't balance it. But if you want to do it, then you will have the will to do it.
It helps having family support too, but first, Vicki.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with what was just said. It is hard. It is. I will acknowledge that. But it can be done. It's all about time management. I just spoke to someone who was recently in a very large race in the primary and didn't make it through to the general, but said, I feel like I have so much time now because I was so heavily budgeted and managed. So I think it's about prioritizing. You don't have to be everywhere. You have to be a lot of places, but you don't have to be everywhere. And that's I still struggle with that, but it is true. So time management.
There's
Thank
things
you.
known as a flyby where you're there for a second. Okay, last question, Joe. Thank you.
Yes, hi. Sorry, I'm multitasking here in the kitchen, but my question is around mailers. I know in talking to other candidates for city council in town and nearby towns on the peninsula, there's a debate over, are mailers worth the cost and the expense? Well, I guess same thing. What are opinions about that in this almost post-COVID world?
Okay, ladies, we got about 30 seconds each. Alicia.
Remember I talked about communication and how you have to have multiple. It's mailers, it's everything. Some people say lawn signs aren't worth it, but it makes the candidate feel good, but they're there. So I think you can't minimize any one piece, and you just have to look at your budget to how much you want to spend on which ones and make that decision. So yes, they can be effective.
Vicki.
Yeah, I wouldn't ask about mailers. I'd ask about communications. So how much are you going to put in digital? How much are you going to put in mailers? If you're going to do a series of mailers, what do they each say? Make sure as the voters vote and you can pull the voter file, you don't send it to people who've already voted. If you want to target a particular community, target that community. Those are all ways of reducing the cost. But at least in my town, I believe mailers are still important.
Okay,
thank you.
Everyone, we're 1 minute over. I want to thank our panelists. Everybody's been great. Thank you all for participating here in candidate training. We look forward to seeing you all at the next one. And again, if you have follow-up questions you didn't get answered, please just email us. We'll get answers to you. Everybody have a fantastic Friday. Thank you.